I'm about to share another vulnerable video with you all. Recently I went through a coaching session with a dear brother and friend and colleague, Alain Cormier, and he coached me this time. He and I coach each other back and forth sometimes. And at the end of this coaching session, we came to recognize that one of the things that has been holding me back in my life is that I've been measuring myself from how far I have to go to reach my ideal life rather than how far I've come. So in the book, The Gap and the Gain, I think that's what it's called, let me check. I think it's The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. The Gap and the Gain. He teaches about how the source of our suffering in life when it comes to our success is usually because we're measuring ourselves from our ideal, from the life we want to live, who we want to become, rather than how far we've come. And as a result, that target is we never reach that ideal. We never reach our ideal life. We never reach our dream life, because as soon as we reach one goal, we then start creating new goals. And so people that are miserable and unhappy with their successes are usually people that are measuring the gap between where they are and where they want to get to, instead of measuring the gain from how far they've come to where they are today. And so at the end of the session, Alain challenged me to write a list of all the things I want to validate myself for and acknowledge myself for, all the ways I can measure the gain of how far I've come in my life rather than how far I have to go, because sometimes I'm hard on myself and I don't measure my successes. I don't take time to celebrate my accomplishments. So I managed to write down 100 things here, and some of these things are really vulnerable, really personal. I cried for about 15 minutes before starting the recording this video, and I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling uncomfortable with sharing some of these things because it's so personal. And some of you have been following me for a while. A lot of this stuff's not going to be new to you. It's not going to be a surprise. But having it all together like this, it's a vulnerable feeling for me. And so my intention for sharing this video is twofold. One, it's to be able to validate myself and acknowledge myself for all of these things that I've survived and that I've been through and that I've accomplished in my life, so that I can remember how far I've come instead of just focusing on how far I have to go. And then the second reason is to inspire you to do the same thing. So I'm hoping that this video inspires you to validate and acknowledge your own successes, to recognize how far you've come instead of how far you have to go as well. So I'm going to get into the list, and some of these things I'm going to explain a little bit. Some of them I'm just going to share them with you, and some of them are self-explanatory. Some of them require a little bit of a description. I'm not sure how long this video is going to go. I'm just going to go through this list, and we'll go to the end. And if you watch this video, I'd love for you to let me know in the comment section below. And in fact, if you want to take it to the next level, I challenge you in the comment section below to let me know some things that you want to validate yourself for, some things that you want to acknowledge yourself for. Okay, so here we go. Number one, being alive. Whether we're talking about fertilizing the egg or staying alive in life, it's a miracle that we're alive. It's a miracle that we even have this experience of life. So I want to acknowledge myself for being alive, keeping myself alive, because there have been times in my life where that was not, it was hard to keep myself alive in some of these situations. Number two is surviving childhood abuse, different types of childhood abuse like neglect and trauma from multiple caretakers in my life, my mom, my dad, even my brother, my younger brother, and he and I abused each other at different times in our life. And I've been neglected by foster parents and other people in my life too, and abused in different ways. Number three, surviving childhood sexual abuse. At 3 years old, I was sexually abused by a family member. I started to remember this experience in 2018. Number four, learning to read and write at 3 years old. Number five, I was almost skipped to grade 2 from grade primary because of my intelligence level and because of how quickly I caught on, but my parents wouldn't let me because they didn't want me to be younger than all the other kids in school. Number six, calling for help when my mom and dad were fighting so violently that my dad almost killed my mother, and I had to call for help. I had to run to the neighbors, and I had to call the police, and I was only 6 years old. Number seven, surviving a home for battered women. So after this experience, my mom and my brother and I went to a home for women who were in abusive relationships, and this is the first time. We actually went to another home again a few years later, so I survived 2 of those homes. Number eight, being exposed to drugs and guns at a very young age in my childhood. Number nine, survived going into hiding with my family. So my parents owed a lot of money to drug dealers when we were young, and we had to go into hiding for the rest of my childhood, basically from 8 years old on. Number 10, I encouraged my mom to break up with my dad when I was around 8 or 9 years old because they had been fighting so much, and that me encouraging her to break up with him was the catalyst that led to her breaking up with him, which caused all sorts of traumas for me that I had to heal later on, but it was also something important and one of the first times that I stood up for what I believed in. Number 11, survived foster care multiple times and manifested better care for myself than I was living in at the time, even though during the experience of foster care I didn't feel like I was manifesting anything better for me, but looking back I see it as a blessing. Number 12, I played on a baseball team as a kid. Number 13, I was able to work with Children's Aid and convince them to let me move in with my dad, and eventually I was able to get out of foster care and move in with my dad. Then I was in and out of foster care after that, but I got to live with him for a little bit. At number 14, when I was young, I was able to attract older, more mature girls because of my own emotional maturity. Throughout my life, I've learned different martial arts like karate, kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai, and other martial arts. I've also learned different types of music, specifically on guitar, like blues, classical, flamenco, rock, and metal. Number 17, I've sang and performed in different bands throughout my life. Number 18, I've wrote and recorded music. Number 19, I survived a juvenile detention center after being falsely accused of something that I didn't do in a confrontation with my mother's boyfriend at the time. And I spent 2 weeks in a juvenile detention center. Number 20, I started businesses as a teenager, like selling cigarettes, selling weed, and selling video games. 21, I had my first job at 16 at McDonald's. Number 22, I was in the military by the time I was 17, and I stayed in there for 3 years. Number 23, I graduated high school with an 86 average despite being homeless and in and out of foster homes and all sorts of traumas happening in high school and junior high school. Number 24, I was awarded a music award at graduation and given a grant for me and 3 other students to record a song professionally for our graduating class, and I got to sing and play guitar on that song. Number 25, I was accepted into university. Number 26, I moved out of the small town I was in that I didn't enjoy living in and moved to the city that my parents and I lived in when I was younger. And number 27, I attended university. Number 28, I dropped out of university. I'm validating myself for that because I hated university and I was only doing it because everyone told me that I needed to. When I finally dropped out, I felt like a failure for many years, but now looking back, I realized it was the best thing I could have asked for. Number 29, I've landed different sales jobs and had a long career as a salesperson. Number 30, I started dating a girl I had a crush on for years. Number 31, I raised 3 kids who weren't mine. When I met the woman, they were 2, 7, and 10, and I stayed for 5 years and helped raise 3 children from age 19 to 24. I was 24 when I left that relationship. Number 32, I've been awarded top sales awards. Number 33, I started selling online different products and ebooks and things like this online, was able to make a living at it at 22, 21 years old. Number 34, I was able to manifest my first MMA event so I could go watch MMA in 2006, and then shortly after, I was able to compete in my own MMA fight and then competed 21 times in total in my fighting career. And number 36, I won Fight of the Night for my very first fight, and I also won the fight and was awarded a $500 bonus for winning Fight of the Night. Number 37, I also gained a sponsorship because of that fight. I was sponsored by a fight gear company. Number 38, I became a kickboxing instructor. Number 39, I opened a kickboxing gym when I was around 20 years old. Number 40, I promoted my own mixed martial arts cage fighting event. I actually promoted it twice, 2 different events. Number 41, I won a trip to Las Vegas because of my sales record in a cell phone company I work for. Number 42, I attended business college for free. I managed to figure out a way to get the government not only to pay for me to go to school, but also pay me while I went to school. So I was earning $1,200 a month from the government, plus have my schooling paid for 2 years while I attended school for business. Number 43, I won awards at college and won an all expenses paid trip to go compete in a business competition, a marketing competition. Number 44, I received a $5,000 grant at graduation so I could open my first business, which I used to open another professional mixed martial arts fighting company. Number 45, I promoted the second event, the second promotion, the second MMA event with that grant. And then my main event dropped off the card 2 weeks before. So I actually had to fight on the same card that I was promoting, and I won the fight in front of a hometown crowd with only 2 weeks notice. I fought 2 5-round championship fights, so I went 5 5-minute rounds, 2 different championship fights. I lost both fights by 1 point, and it was still one of the most powerful experiences of my whole life. 47, I've competed on pay-per-view multiple times. 48, I competed in a boxing match once. 49, I tried out for the Ultimate Fighter in Las Vegas, and the trip was completely paid for by sponsors. Number 50 was the trip to Vegas that I got to enjoy for a week after, 5 days after the tryouts. Number 51, I opened a supplement store called Collision Sports and had multiple locations in my 20s. Number 52, I acted on a TV show called Haven, and because of my martial arts experience, I got to do this cool scene where me and another guy took down the main actor and tied him up to a bed, and then I got to knock him out. Number 53, I've spoken on TV multiple times. Number 54, I published 2 books, and I have 2 more in the works. Number 55, I opened a wellness center called Elevated Wellness Center. And then number 56, I had an online school called Elevated Academy. And then number 57, a coaching business called Elevated Lifestyle. Number 58, I created my own supplement line for a short period of time in my 20s. Number 59, I was initiated into high magic and have been through countless high magic healing ceremonies. Number 60, I was initiated as a shaman in Cusco, Peru in 2018 in the Andes Mountains at an ayahuasca retreat center. Number 61, I've been through hundreds of ceremonies, plant medicine ceremonies and shamanic healing ceremonies. Number 62, I've traveled to Peru 3 times to work with medicine and to train under the people that I've met there, the shamans that I work with there. Number 63, traveled to LA twice for business, both times the trip was paid for. 64, I traveled to Chicago for business. 65, I'm now currently a resident in Mexico. It's a dream that I've had since I was a child. Now I officially live in Mexico, one of my biggest dreams. 66, I lived in Costa Rica for a period of time. 67, I've been through hundreds of coaching and psychology sessions over the years. I can't even count how many. Number 68, I've earned over 6 figures from coaching in 1 year. 67, I went skydiving, which was a childhood dream of mine. Number 68, I've coached multimillionaires, UFC fighters, world boxing champions, best-selling authors, celebrity performers, shamans, healers, and all sorts of leaders and people from all over the world. 69, I've created a remote business and have been working for myself remotely for more than 10 years. Number 70, I was the first person in my family to have my license. My dad had his license when he was younger, but it got taken away from him, and I was the first person to have my license in my family. Number 71, I taught myself how to drive a motorcycle in Costa Rica. I also crashed it once, but I didn't get too hurt. 72, I've made it my life's work to face my deepest fears to the best of my ability. 73, and this is maybe the hardest thing on the list, is I survived my dad's passing back in July. It was one of the hardest things that I had ever been through in my whole life. One of my biggest fears manifested. 74, I've left a toxic relationship 3 times in my life, relationships that were not good for me anymore, where I needed to break up with the relationship, but I struggled to, and then finally I was able to. 75, I've dated inspiring women who have truly inspired me with their accomplishments and their dedication to themselves and their own transformation. Number 76, I survived a near-death experience. I almost drowned in a Costa Rican ocean. I got caught in a riptide and I almost drowned. I was saved by a surfer. 77, I've been through 3 combo ceremonies. Combo is a purgative that causes you to just vomit and purge. I've been through 3 of those really intense ceremonies. I've been through 15 ayahuasca ceremonies. Number 79, I signed 2 $25,000 clients in just 3 tries. So in other words, I asked somebody, they said no for $25,000 to work with them. And then the next 2 people actually said yes to me. So 2 out of 3 people that I've asked to work with me for that price have worked with me. Number 80, I moved back to Mexico recently. Number 81, I've coached thousands of clients. 82, I gave my dad a proper wake and a burial, which I never imagined I'd be able to have the fortitude to do. 83, I fought in 3 weight classes, almost 4. I fought at 200, I fought at 185, I fought at 170, and I almost fought at 155, but I missed weight by 1 pound. 84, I've helped myself and others heal complex PTSD. Number 85, I have experienced oneness consciousness more times than I can count and live a lot of my life in that state of consciousness. More and more and more all the time. 86, I competed in exhibition Muay Thai. 87, I competed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. 88, I have an orange belt in karate. 89, 2 Bufo ceremonies that I've been through. Number 90, I've been through more than 50 DMT ceremonies using a different type of DMT, which is a psychedelic plant medicine. 91, I've lost over 50 pounds of fat in my weight loss journey. 92, I've been through a 3-day silent water fast. 93, I've been through a 5-day silent meditation retreat by myself. No books, no nothing, just myself and my practices. 94, I've done the healing work with my family, my mother, my father, my brother. Thank God I did this work before my dad passed. My mom and I are still working through our stuff, but we've come a long way. And my brother and I have gotten to a really amazing place as well. If you haven't done the healing work with your family yet, I'm encouraging you. It's the best decision that I ever made in my life. It's the best thing I've ever done. At number 95, I've released a demo album. Number 96, I'm going through the 12 steps for a second time. I've already done it once, now I'm doing it again for Codependence Anonymous. Such deep work. Number 97, I aspire to reach total transparency, where I'm living a transparent life, where I don't have any secrets, I've hidden nothing. At this point, I've reached that. If there's anything I haven't shared yet, it's just because I haven't found it yet. I've shared everything about my past with at least one other person. Most people I've done it multiple times, or most things I've done multiple times, and I've recorded videos like this. 98, I've taught college business. 99, I taught college nutrition. And I actually just realized right now that I didn't actually write 100 down. So I'm gonna put recorded validation video. So there are so many more things that I'm sure I could validate myself for, so many more things that I could talk about how far I've come and all of this. This list was really challenging. I've been writing it for 3 days now, and even coming on video and doing it like this has been really challenging. So if you're somebody who struggles to validate yourself, if you're somebody who struggles to feel happy, if you're somebody who struggles to feel like a success, even though you've achieved incredible things in your life, I'm telling you, you're not alone. A lot of us go through it. We go through these challenges. It's important for us to learn how to validate and acknowledge ourselves so that we can recognize how far we've come. So this is my way of leading by example and doing the work on myself to share that these are just some of the ways that I recognize, acknowledge, and validate myself for how far I've come and how many things that I've survived and how many challenges I've faced in my life. So thanks again for watching, everyone. If you're struggling to validate yourself, if you're struggling to acknowledge yourself, if you're a highly successful person but you don't feel highly successful, I support highly successful people to create a life where they really feel like they're inspired and jumping out of bed in the morning, ready to face the day. So if you want to know more about that, send me a message. You're not going to find anything about my work on my website or anything like that. It's not how my work works. It's very private, very sacred. It's just between you and I. So if you want to know more about that, you can send me a message. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed being a witness for me so I could share this vulnerable content with you, and I'll see you all very soon.